Getting
I'm a
ready to
go
start. Okay, we're starting now. So yeah,
now. Wait, no, I'm not ready.
we've had
I'm
plenty of
ready.
time to get ready. This this is going to be the first podcast. Today's topic is going to be Monster Hunter. We're going to talk about the history of the franchise, our experiences with it, what we love about it now, and the future of the franchise. So past, present, and future of Monster Hunter. Uh, let's start with Nox. What is your history with Monster Hunter?
Ooh, Knox starts off first.
Well, if I had to say, you actually sort of introduced me by way of the demo from Monster Hunter 3, but I did have some small bit of history playing Monster Hunter through Freedom Unite, which was on the PSP, as we know. And I liked what we played there, but I think the actual real introduction to the series for me was definitely Monster Hunter 3. And that's where we all like had our experiences and all played together and just got really acquainted with the series.
Yeah, that was a good time, man. I love Try.
So Donnie, your history?
Oh, me? Well, let me tell you my extensive history of Monster Hunter. You see, a few years back, farther than I can remember, I remember one day picking up an old disc. Not really. So basically, what happened was I met you, and we sort of became friends right away. We started talking about video games. You're like, "Hey, you have a Wii?" I was like, "Yo, I got a Wii." You're like, "Well, you should play this." And he literally just gives me a demo of this game I've never heard of, Monster Hunter, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll play it. Play it." I mean, I love my Wii. That's what she said. And I'm like, might as well try it out. I tried it out, and it was just the most difficult thing I ever really played. Because up until that point, I didn't really play games, but that kind of opened up my eyes to a whole new world of giant monsters and crafting armor. So Try was definitely my first experience. I did, though, see people play it on the PSP before. I didn't really ask because I wasn't too interested. Because the only game on PSP I was really interested in was Birth by Sleep, but I did see it in passing. But Try was definitely the first experience for me.
Good. Yeah, my personal history. I had started with the first one because I had a friend in middle school who played a bunch of Monster Hunter, and I got my hands on the first one. And as a kid, I could not comprehend how to play the game, so I struggled through every single part of it. But then like a few years later, like I see Tries coming out to Wii, and we're all, I mean, we had our little group of friends playing games together, and I was like, oh, this could be a really fun game to play with other people. And ever since Try came out, we've been playing Monster Hunter since then. So
Done deal.
it's safe to say we all love this franchise. So I want next thing to talk about. What do we like about this franchise now? What do we like about where it is, where it stands now as a franchise?
Absolutely nothing.
Jesus. I want to start.
Oh, you always start.
It's very no, I don't. I'm just leading. I'm leading the freaking podcast, Donald. Gosh darn it.
I kid.
So, what I like now is that this franchise has had a very obvious growth since its beginning. Ever since the first one, it's been improving in small and in big ways, making the game more accessible for new players, making it easier in certain aspects, adding more monsters, more ways to play, more weapons, more just about anything that they can to improve it. And it's definitely a very different game now than it was back when the first one came out. I love the first one. I love Try the most in terms of like the past of my games that I played on the Wii. And when it comes down to it, like it feels like a whole new game now, but like in a good way. It still feels Monster Hunter. It still captures the heart of what it is, even when it's got all this new flashy stuff and kind of changing just the overall feel of it. But when World came out, I was thinking to myself, and many of us were thinking, this is the Monster Hunter we've always wanted, and they've so far delivered on everything and continue to deliver. Donnie?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I personally love the series. The thing that got me into it was sort of the complexity of every single weapon. Every single weapon was you had to play it a completely different way. You can play
100%.
Yeah, it's like you can play the great sword the same you play the sword and shield, or the same way you play the lance. Each one you had to change your pace, change your fighting style, and just change the overall look of how you approach every hunt. And that's one thing I really, really loved about the game, because every single time I played the game, it just felt completely different as long as I used a different weapon. And even if I use a weapon that I use a lot, like in Try, I use the greatsword a lot, it still felt like the game was evolving as I learned new techniques and new methods of actually using that weapon to carry out different hunts, which was kind of amazing, because in Try, I think all of us put hundreds of hours into it easily, some more than others, but I know I put in like 400 hours, 400, 500 hours, which is still rather impressive compared to most people. And with this new Monster Hunter, I really love that it's on the console. The one gripe I've always had with Monster Hunter was the controls, because other than Try, which was on the Nintendo Wii, all the other ones that I played were on the 3DS, which is a handheld, which a big game like that, it's kind of held back by just the controls. Granted, it was still super fun, but the fact that you now have a controller in hand, it just feels a lot more natural. It looks amazing. Granted, it doesn't have all like the fleshed out stuff that the other ones had, like the styles and stuff, but who knows? We could get that in the future. I don't know. I'm not putting it past them, but either way, I'm really loving it right now, and I'm really excited to see where it's going right now.
Yeah, just quickly to go off your point, with the weapons, that is one thing I do adore about this game. There are 14 weapons now. 14, right?
I
Mhm.
wish I knew.
Yeah, 14. There are currently 14 weapons in the game, and you could spend like hundreds of hours with just one of them. And if you pick up a new weapon, the game feels brand new again, and that says a lot for a game that you can spend so much time in. So, Nox,
Noxidoo.
what do you like about Monster Hunter now?
If I had to say what I actually liked about Monster Hunter now is that, man, there's a lot to like about the game at the moment, because they've improved so much on the formula over the years. It's mind blowing how, like, each iteration that they've managed to tack on something like new and exciting and refreshing, that it just constantly improves. But like, as soon as we reach World, that was we've kind of like improved upon the formula even more than we thought possible before. And because of that, we see such a large following starting to be generated because of that. And it's nice to see that we're seeing so many people being interested in this franchise compared to its like humble beginnings from way before. And that's another thing that really speaks to me about like the series and how far it's come since then.
Yeah, this one really blew up. Like as soon as they saw like the trailers and all the gameplay, people just hopped on board with Monster Hunter. It was crazy.
I still couldn't believe that World was an actual Monster Hunter game when that trailer showed. Like I legit thought it was like some sort of weird spin-off or something. Like there was just no way we had come this far.
I think
Yeah, it was so surreal seeing them like track the monsters and stuff like that. I was like, holy crap, this is insane.
I really couldn't believe it when like you showed me that trailer, Julian. Like it came out of nowhere too. Like, E3 was going on and all that, and all of a sudden, you send me this trailer, and then like I'm looking at it, it's like, what am I looking at here? Is this really what I think it is? Because I saw that great sword. We all saw that great sword.
Oh yeah,
And that was a moment right there where we were like, is this really happening? Is it
I thought I was
Is this-
dreaming. I legit thought I was dreaming wide awake.
and that was a moment right there that we all shared right there, where it's like we've come all this way. we've played all these Monster Hunter games. We started on Try, more or less, and then we've gone through all of these mobile iterations of it, and then we reach this point where we see this on a big screen. We see like this high fidelity version of this game that we thought wouldn't ever really reach the console in such a fashion. But it's like, it's hard to believe, but it happened.
Yeah, like there was a point where I was just like, Monster Hunter is always going to be this niche thing that only a select group of people can really appreciate. But now it's literally Capcom's greatest selling game of all time. Like, that is the most insane thing to me. Like, it's such a short time to and we're talking about Capcom. They made Mega Man, they made Dead Rising, Devil May Cry, like some of these beloved Resident freaking Evil, like some of these beloved franchises, and Monster Hunter, which barely had any presence over here in the West, just exploded, and now it's one of the best franchises ever.
And that's another thing too, because I mean, we've seen how Resident Evil has kind of evolved since then, like, ever since Resident Evil 6, and then we go to 7.
Evolution is a strange word for it.
I guess you could say. The thing is, like, we saw the jump between 6 and then 7, how very successful that 7 was, and you can also kind of equate that to, like, how Monster Hunter, like, jumped from the previous iterations to World, and it's like Capcom's been doing pretty well in this area, honestly.
Yeah, and it brings a lot of hope, because and now recently they released the Mega Man Legacy collections and Legacy X collections, and so it's like Capcom is kind of undergoing like a revival, and because like a lot of people were saying, oh, they haven't really done anything worthwhile recently, but like they're starting to make a comeback, and with the success of World, I can see Monster Hunter evolving even further than it already has. Like it's already skyrocketed in terms of like changes in profit and whatnot. Just now, imagine what they can do now that we've already got this established Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, it's become one of their flagships now. It is like their cover page at this point.
So now, I want to talk about what we're looking forward to. So, currently, Monster Hunter World is the only game people are really playing right now. Coming up this month, as we're recording this, is Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. And just the future of the franchise, what are you looking forward to? What do you think could happen, and what would you like to see? Nox, I want you to start.
Well, if I had to say what they could possibly improve upon what we already have now, man, I mean, like how Monster Hunter 3 was sort of an experiment on the Wii, I feel World was more or less an experiment on, the wider consoles. So I would definitely like to see, more content to be put out for this kind of game. If not on World, then in a new game for sure, because they've established like a good base, so they have confidence that they can have a Monster Hunter game and people would be interested in it.
Yeah. This for real is an experiment. It's the first, we had Monster Hunter 1 on PlayStation and we had Try on Wii, but this being the first like modern console, which that's like 2 generations skipped right there for this one. This being the first one of its kind, there's so many ways they could expand upon this, and they're still updating this one as we speak. I mean, they just had the Behemoth update, which we're all struggling with, but it's an amazing update because it's Final Fantasy, and I'm pretty sure all of us love Final Fantasy. But just the crossovers, the updates, and the way they've changed the series, like we've talked about this. Feel like Monster Hunter World would be so much more amazing than it already is if they added like hunter arts or hunter styles from Generations, which that would take a lot of change. But maybe in the future they can have something like that. Even though Generations was only a spin-off, it's still a lot of fun and it could still work in the game. I really, and I keep saying this, I don't think they need to bring back swimming from Tri, but they could still bring back a lot of those monsters and add some sort of way to
Hey, I don't want you to put down swimming. Swimming was awesome. I loved swimming around with my Laka, and hunting Gobles, Royal Ludroths, what was his name? Lacadius. Oh, dude, those hunts were so cool. It just added a whole new element, and it actually made use of the stupid bounce bomb, which they still have in the game for some reason, because it's absolutely useless unless you use it underwater.
my thing with the swimming though, it was cool, but on a Wii controller it sucked. It really sucked. And you know it.
Yeah, I did.
Julian, you want to talk about that being a nightmare on the Wii? You've never played Monster Hunter Tri like Ultimate, like on a 3DS.
I don't even want to imagine. That sounds dreadful.
That was awful.
I don't even want to think about that.
It wasn't so bad playing it on the Wii U because you actually had free range of movement with the camera and all that with the gamepad. But don't even talk to me about actually playing that and swimming around in the 3DS. It was awful.
Yeah, but I imagine if they put it on the console, with the PlayStation controller or even the Xbox controller, I imagine it being 1,000 times better. And what would be even sicker? If they put it on the Switch. I mean, the new one is coming on the Switch, so.
I mean, there's no point in going back now. I mean, other than doing what Generations did and bringing back like the old areas and the old monsters and all that stuff. I don't think we need to, because like the one problem with Monster Hunter World is that the pantheon of monsters is by far smaller than it used to be, because there used to be over 100 monsters in the freaking last one.
Oh, absolutely.
Like in World, we've got a group of, I want to say 40-ish monsters. Yeah,
it's really small in comparison to other ones.
When we were playing Monster Hunter 4U, we were playing through that game, and in the beginning, of course, every monster you fight is going to be a new one because you're just starting the game. Then when you put 400 hours in and you think you've seen everything, they throw a new monster at you and you're like, this game is still going. And it just felt like it would never end, and it was just an endless adventure of just fun and farming and hunting monsters, and I really enjoyed that. If World,
I see where you're coming from though, but there's one issue with that, Julian. I think part of the success of this new Monster Hunter is because it's a lot simpler than the other ones. Because if you look at the most recent ones with, what were they called? The monsters that you had to have the sharp stones, the specific sharp stones for.
That was definitely for you, where you needed
Frenzy, Apex.
Yeah, those type of monsters, not only were they hundreds of times harder than the current monsters in Worlds, you also had to have specialized equipment in order to fight them. And I think in order to appeal to the general audience, they dumbed this one down. They made it a lot simpler just so it's anyone can pick it up and be like, yo, this is awesome. Because the monsters weren't too difficult. And there wasn't too much to think about other than just hunting. Granted, there was still a lot of depth in the game, and you kind of needed to know what you were doing, but it was made a lot simpler compared to the ones of the past.
And that's kind of the key to the success of World. It was accessibility, and that's the long and short of it.
Yeah, because when you start any other Monster Hunter, you just get walls of text and talking, and then when you set into the world, all you're doing is picking herbs and berries and stuff and delivering them, and you're just this isn't fun.
Yeah.
When you
And you
find,
started off with no armor or weapons, really.
oh yeah, you started off practically naked, and then when you finally get around to finally hunting something, it's just like the little minion monsters that take a few minutes to kill, and you're like, okay, and then you fight your first like major monster, which might be not even like a real monster, but like the leader of the minion packs, and they're sort of tough, but not enough to make you be like, eh. It's not until you really, I'd say it's not until you really fail against a monster and realize that you're not that good at the game, where you're like, wait a sec, what's going on here? And you realize that now you have to actually learn how to play the game. This like world, it, as you guys said, it's super accessible. They added a story and everything just to make it appease to a more general audience, and it felt more welcoming. It definitely felt a lot more welcoming, because like Monster Hunter in the past, I mean, as I said, as a kid, like I could not wrap my head around Monster Hunter. All these mechanics and things that weren't explained and are still not really explained well to this day just went right over my head.
Yeah, you had to go into like the training mode and tutorial mode in order to figure anything out, because there was no
If there
like
was a
on-screen
tutorial mode.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know for the past ones, you literally, in order to learn the weapon, you literally had to go into a training mode where it still didn't tell you anything. You just sort of had to figure it out on your own without a big monster trying to kill you at the time.
And that's the thing, because like not all of them even had anything remotely close to like a training mode. You pretty much had to kind of pick up everything and learn as you go, and it didn't really guide you in any way. You just kind of had to learn everything as you go and pick everything up. And there was a certain charm to that sort of thing. Like there's people that kind of like to take things into their own hands and kind of learn everything, and that was the magic of Monster Hunter at the time. You kind of, it was kind of like like an ongoing study.
And, yeah, and there is an appeal to that whole show don't tell approach to teaching the player how to be a good hunter, how to fight these monsters, how to learn, because like the same way like with how I am with Dark Souls. Like when I first started Dark Souls, I had no clue what I was doing. I was getting destroyed, and I did not want to play that game. And once I finally learned how to beat the game, how to be good, and how to like do all these things, it became so much more fun, and like actually one of my favorite games ever with Monster Hunter. Like the just the sheer depth, once it finally clicks in your mind, it becomes undoubtedly one of the best game series ever.
Oh yeah.
And
with the
and absolutely, there was also so much to learn too. It was just a well of knowledge that you had to kind of dive into, especially with like all the weapons that you could use as well. I mean, obviously it never started out with like all 14 of the weapons, but there was still a lot to learn in that case.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, we've all been playing since Try. Like, there are still a collection of weapons that I still don't really touch because I don't feel comfortable with them. I could easily pick up like maybe 10 out of the 14 weapons right now and be comfortable with them, and there's still the 4 that I've yet to really like properly learn how to use and feel comfortable with. And that goes to show, because we've been playing this game for years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know I still only use like 3 weapons because, granted, I know how to use a bit more than the 3, but there's so many, like, it's not just about knowing the controls, about knowing where to hit and everything, but while you're hunting, you're also learning how to use that in the cut, like in the either the moment in the combat against this certain monster during this situation, because not every moment you can put away your weapon and dodge. I know my favorite weapon, the Charge Blade, it's complex. It's a really complex weapon. It has these things called guard points. And guard points. I have been playing the Charge Blade. I played the Charge Blade for hundreds of hours. I mean, hundreds of hours. Yet, guard points, I still cannot do those very well. And that's something that's been in there since they first came out,
See,
and
I
it's still something I'm still working on.
freaking can't even get into Charge Blade. I just feel overwhelmed just looking at that weapon. It's like looking at a Rubik's Cube in combat. I just can't even think about it.
Oh yeah, the Swiss Army knife of the weapons of Monster Hunter. But yeah, that's kind of why it falls into like the technical weapons category out of all the weapons, and because there's just so much to learn about it, there's so much to grasp. Like when you actually do get around to learning it, it is very satisfying. And me being one of the those kinds of people that are like a jack of all trades for pretty much all 14 weapons, it's still kind of humbling to know that there's still something to learn about all these weapons after all this time.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Then let me ask real quick, what's your favorite weapons? And I think, Donnie, you've just answered this question.
I
but
mean,
if
I
it's
have
not,
the Charge Blade and the Insect Glaive. Those two are the best.
well, which do you prefer of the two then?
As of late, I will say the Insect Glaive. The reason being is because I really wasn't a big Insect Glaive person in the past because, like we just talked about, the past Monster Hunters, there's no real tutorial. And the Insect Glaive, alongside the Charge Blade, had no tutorial. So I was like, well, I really like the Charge Blade. And I tried the Insect Glaive one time, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to charge this thing up. I don't know how to attack. I was just jumping around the whole time. It was pretty pointless, honestly. But this one, in this game, the fact that they teach you how to use the Insect Glaive, it got so much more awesome. It has so much versatility. It's fast. I feel like freaking Wukong using that crap, just jumping around. And especially with this new update, the fact that you're a Dragoon, my favorite Final Fantasy job, it just blew my mind. And I just love the mobility of it. It's awesome. I've been using that way more than the Charge Blade. I've been using the Charge Blade against this new event boss because, I just like stunning. And I just like how that's super technical. And while it's also technical, it's really strong. In terms of all the weapons, like beside like the Great Sword or like the hammer or something, it dishes out the most damage. I absolutely love that thing. And I will keep playing that into the future as long as time allows it.
Nox, what's your favorite weapon?
Oh, if you had to ask me, Lance by far is my favorite weapon.
That's a good choice.
Especially since Tri, when they added, counter attacks and all that, because it allowed you to stay within the fight without being hurt, and you didn't need to worry about healing nearly as much. So you could kind of stick near the monster whenever possible, and you more or less act as sort of a vanguard in that respect.
Oh yeah, taking point, constantly dishing out damage and not being stopped.
That's a very cool weapon, Nox. Especially in this game.
Especially in this game because, the power guard just adds so much more.
Dude, they added so much in this game. It blew my mind. I used the Lance a lot and Tri, but then you come to this game and they added like 3 pages of extra instructions on how to use this weapon. I'm just like, this is insane.
Well, you know where to go for me. Easily for me I would have to say the Great Sword. I just I'm a big fan of heavy weapons when I play games with like the sheer satisfaction of just charging it up to maximum power, hitting the monster in their weak point, and seeing that big damage number. Well, because before
you and your numbers.
Before in the first Monster, Great Sword didn't even have charge attacks. Like, as hard as that is to believe, you would just swing the thing and it would just do slightly bigger damage than other weapons. And then come Tri, or was it in 2? Was it in Tri they added charging?
I believe in 2 they actually did add charges, but in Tri they added like strong charge slash.
Yeah, when you and that was the thing. Like when in the older Monster Hunters, when you would get the big hits off, like one big hit, your attack animation would slow down, and you were doing big damage. Just that moment where you slice through the monster and it goes super slow, You did the major damage. It was so satisfying. And then this one, now that you can see the numbers, and they added the freaking what is it called? The level 3 charge, where it's
True
like
charge slash.
the true charge slash. With landing that thing after getting like 3 max charges is one of the most satisfying things ever. Just
Oh,
knowing
absolutely.
it, some of the major, like having the highest one hit damage capability, just
Just calm down there,
I
Julie.
know that sounds a little weird. I did say it was very satisfying.
Oh no, I get it. The great sword's so sweet now. Like that new charge. Oh, it's so sweet. And like seeing that your damage numbers go over 1,000, it just blows my mind. Like I said, I like the charge blade because it does a ton of damage. But compared to the great sword, it's nothing but a child's toy. That thing
Exactly.
is an absolute monster.
And also shout out to Sword and Shield. Of course, it's
The most
well-rounded.
underrated weapon.
Honestly,
Oh,
the most
absolutely.
underrated. It is. It's a very well-rounded weapon that it can still dish out damage despite what people will want to tell you.
Yeah, it's so cool now. And like the fact that it attacks so fast, status elements are guaranteed to happen. It has a jump back forward jumping slam attack that leads into an aerial attack, which you can either convert into impact damage for a knockout or for slashing and mounting damage for if you want to mount or cut something off. And also two of the hugest kickers. One, you can use items with the weapon out, which is insane. No other weapon can do that. And two, this is probably my favorite part about the sword and shield. You can change directions mid attack.
As
In
a world,
world, yes, absolutely.
yeah,
I
like
love that.
it can stun, it can slice, it can jump, it can block, it can do everything, and it's honest. And as you said, honestly, super underrated. Because
You can put that in my top 3 weapons easily, right under charge blade and insect.
yeah, that's like, I mean, come on, dude. So yeah, I think that's it. Future, is there anything else you guys want to add before we go?
Styles. I want styles. With that new temporal mantle, they're just teasing us. That's clearly a depth style where freaking you dodge and you do awesome stuff afterwards. Come on. Just give me the styles and then I'll be happy. This will be my game of the year. This game came out this year, right?
Yep, the beginning of this year.
Okay, yeah. If they add styles by the end of this year, this would be my game of the year. Actually, no, I can't say that because if Kingdom Hearts comes out. Oh, the Kingdom Hearts ain't coming out. This could be my game of the year.
Over God of War and over potentially Red Dead.
If they add the styles, potentially, because I love God of War's story and their combat, but I put more hours into this game than I'm probably going to put into either of those games. If we're going to be completely honest.
We'll see, man. We'll see. Yeah, I for a while I was debating whether freaking God of War or this was my game of the year so far. But after the Behemoth update came out and reminded me, I was like, yeah, this is still number 1.
No, it's so good. It's so good, and it looks just like him from 15. It blew my mind seeing him. I hate fighting him, but I absolutely love seeing him.
Nux, anything you want to add?
Oh man, like anything that would kind of extend the longevity of this game. I mean, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say G rank would definitely expand upon the lifetime of this game, especially if they added more monsters as we went through it, because we're obviously lacking on a good few monsters, especially a certain variety, like you said,
I keep saying, I've said it a billion times now, we need more freaking water monsters, because all we have is a stupid Gyarados, and he's a scumbag, and I hate him.
The water slug causing you problems, bro?
No, it's the fact that he sucks, and we don't have any cool water monsters like the wait, what is it? The Amatsu
I don't know.
Hatsuchi.
or
The full name is Amatsuma Gatsuchi.
Him or freaking what's his face from Generations? The see, I can't even remember.
Tamamitsue.
Oh,
That's it.
Mizutsune?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, bring the Mizutsune back. I will love that. Freaking have my. Oh, I love that. That's my favorite monster.
If you had to bring back Mizutsune, though, you would have to theoretically bring
back all
the,
three.
All the Faded Four,
as they're called. Yeah.
Oh, I'd
Yeah.
totally be down for Gammoth coming back. I love that elephant.
Oh, that'd be cool. But if the Gamma come back, I think we would need the styles.
Hey man,
Kinda big.
guild style works for everything.
Hey, that is true. That is true.
He ain't lying. Guild stock can work. But that big old monster.
He is huge.
That would be nice. Aerial style. Aerial style. You gotta climb
Aerial
that
style would
mountain.
be the best for him. Oh, that was amazing.
Hey, it's 2018. It's a her. Come on now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me for this. I know we literally just finished playing Monster Hunter before we started this, but now I part of me actually wants to go
screw that
back now
game.
that we've had this conversation.
I'm not going back. Screw that game. I just fought the stupid behemoth about 1 billion times. I'm not going back. You can't make me. Not till tomorrow.
Come on now.
Oh,
All right
I mean,
then.
if you guys are pushing me.
I mean, you want. We know you want that armor, dude. That's
do
like
want that
that's like
armor.
your armor.
Oh, I love dragoons. That's the character. That's the character.
Well, we'll see if Donnie wants to go back to MH. Until then, thank you guys for listening and have a wonderful day.
Shout
See you
out.
around.
Ciao.